Yeah, the milk. Yeah, remember that? Yeah, it's like Carol. What's on these? Carrie. Carrie Kennedy. Hello, Zara. Yeah. How are you? What's your name? Hello, Ken. Nice to see you. Governor.
Okay, I'm out of here. Love you. Great job. Sounds like a great job.
Do you have regular soda?
What's your name? This is Augustine. I live in Fort Lauderdale. So I stopped in. I just said I got one soda.
Yeah, please. Thank you. That's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
You make the bread?
I know everything now. 2 days a week he does. We're leaving tomorrow, actually. Not supposed to forget, you're supposed to pause.
Mother of God, what are you doing?
I gotta tell you, thank Gwen, maybe I'll like that one. I think I can wait.
Thank you. Hi, how are you?
Jensen.
Little speech. I get you. You can't leave without making a speech. Yeah, right. Excuse me? You always have to sing for yourself.
I know you work very hard at it. Barry worked very hard at it.
Mayor?
Okay. What? Everybody come. Do you have any more chairs? Basically, share.
Just give a speech like that.
If I break it, I buy it.
Breaking through on it. Suozzi Meyer.
Okay, I want to give this guy over here a seat. Henry. Thank you for being here, Henry. Hey, come on in the inside here. Sastos, come on in here.
Thank you so much for coming and for giving Tom a great, warm Northport welcome. We're so excited that he's here tonight.
About a little hand.
Yeah.
Come on, we get a quick one.
I am Barry Stevens. I'm a proud third-generation Northport resident and Democrat. I'm also the granddaughter of Esther Stevens, who down the block owned a dress shop for a half a century.
Oh.
And she was also known for her community service, although all day when I was practicing, I kept saying customer service. So I know she's coming down today telling me, tell them how good I was at customer service. So my grandmother, who was wonderful at customer service and community service, we always knew we had to give back. Which leads me to my next person, James Lamontia, person who's deeply involved in community service and customer service. He's the owner of this gallery who generously let us
Lamontia, that's Italian. That's why he's helping.
And then we have Jensen Adani and Jay Adani from Jason's Supermarket, who donated all this delicious food. Whoa.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Here's the story behind that. So my mom says, let's go to Jason's. I go, I don't know them from Adam. We're going to go in there and ask for free food for this event. So I said, hi. We have this event. I didn't want to say who it was yet because you never know if it's going to be Democrat or Republican. I'm so scared to go. And it's for Tom Suozzi. Jensen goes, he was at my bar mitzvah. He called his dad. They go, give him the works. We're bringing Prosecco. They brought the cups and the ice and everything. The food is out of this world. Sal cooked. Thank you for Jason's Market. It's really generous.
That was 13 years ago. I made it Jensen Adani Day in all of Nassau County.
That was very nice of you. And lastly, Ann Stevens, former Northport trustee, and my mom.
Hey!
So I want to thank everyone tonight, but we're here for one reason, and I wanted to just say a couple of words. Tonight is a great opportunity for us to get to know Tom. You will hear things from him that will resonate with you and that will inspire you to help him win this incredibly important election in November. Tom Suozzi is running on a proven and impressive record. He was voted New York State Environmentalist of the Year. He is an unrelenting supporter of women's rights and health issues, a champion for Medicare and immigration reform, a courageous politician willing to expose injustice on both sides of the aisle. Tom also created the Warrior to Work program for veterans in need and turned Nassau County's broken economy into a strong and thriving one. And this is how I really feel. We are so fortunate that Tom is running to represent us in Washington. I feel like we won the lottery because we all know how much we loved Steve, and I was really depressed. But then I read that Tom was running, and I'm like, oh, I'm bored. And, I'm really excited. I hope that they also are excited to have you here. We're really lucky. One thing I want to say, Tom will listen to you. He will remember you, and he will work for you. Ladies and gentlemen, the next congressman for the 3rd Congressional District of New York.
Let's give Barry a big thank you to Barry. This does not just happen on its own. You have to work very hard to put a room together like this. So I'm very grateful to you, Barry, and I know how hard you work. And I want to give her another thank you. Let's give her one more thank you. And to her mother, Anne, for being such a good daughter, and for working so hard, and for playing the piano as well. And your 2 girlfriends are over here that I met a few minutes ago. And I want to thank the owner of the gallery, who I heard is a Republican, which is good. I need Republicans are worth 2 for 1. Where'd he go? He's running out. They're worth 2 for 1, the Republicans, because if they vote for me and not the other guy, that's worth 2 votes. But I think when I heard his last name, I heard he's Italian, and I want you to know if I win, I will be the only Italian-American congressman in all of New York State.
Yeah.
I mean, that must be hard to imagine. I mean, it's the #1 population in the district and in New York State, and there's no Italian congresspeople in all of New York State. So that's got to count for something.
I bet they eat Italian food, though.
Huh?
I bet they all eat Italian.
As long as they eat Italian. Well, I just told these ladies, my family, not my family, my cousin's cousin, and my cousin actually works there, owns Ruvo Restaurant in Green Lawn. And Ruvo is named after the town my father was born in Italy, Ruvo del Monte. So that's a connection I have with all the people who like to eat at Ruvo.
Party based on that.
Yeah, it's a big party. And I want to thank Jansen, and he's turned out pretty well since his bar mitzvah, so congratulations. And his father, Jay Adani, I can't believe that he's here tonight. It's really a shocking thing. It was beshert that you were here tonight. When I Jewish people know what beshert means, it was meant to happen. So I want to thank you very much, Jay, for helping out. And Barry, that introduction you gave me was very generous. I'm very grateful. I'm just happy when people say my name right, because Suozzi is Suozzi. And when I first ran for office, people called me Tom Suozzi, Tom Suozzi. So when I was first elected as county executive of Nassau County, I was the first Democrat with a Democratic legislature since 1917. So this was a big story for national Democrats that a Democrat won in Nassau County, which had this strong Republican organization. And so I was invited to a big party in New York City with Democrats all over the country were there. A big party in Harlem, and President Bill Clinton was there. And the New York State Democratic chairman gets up and gives a speech, and he says, "And the new county executive from Nassau County, Tom Suozzi." I looked over at my friend Jay. I said, "Jay, not you." And I said, "President Clinton is here. If President Clinton gets up there and calls me Tom Suozzi, I'm going to be known as Tom Suozzi by Democrats throughout the country from now on." So President Clinton gets up there, and he gives a beautiful speech, as he always does, and he introduces all the elected officials, and he never mentioned me at all. So I said, Suozzi would have been okay, so I don't care what. I'm happy with any introduction these days when I get my name right. So anyway, this is a great turnout and a great environment, and I want to make a special mention of somebody that I'm happy to see everybody here, but I'm especially happy to see the mayor of Northport here because he's a great guy, and I'm very grateful that he came. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it very, very much. And he's got to be tired. He's been out catching lobster all day. He must be exhausted. Let's go home and take a nap right after this. So, and Henry, I'm going to see you on Sunday at the American Legion?
We'll see the mayor also.
Oh, the guy, I'll go wherever the mayor goes.
It's a small town.
So I'm spending a lot of time out in Suffolk County because, in the primary election, I worked very hard to be the Queens candidate because none of the candidates were from Queens. And I wanted to give them attention in Queens during the primary. And worked out very well as part of a strategy for me, but also I'm going to give a lot of attention to Queens if I'm elected. I'm actually said I would put a district office in Queens. But I'm also going to spend a lot of time in Suffolk County, because neither of the candidates are from Suffolk County, and I know that you're used to having your own local person here, Steve Israel, so I've got to work very hard to give you attention and let you know that I love you, and then I'm going to be responsive to your concerns. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time out in Suffolk County, and the further east in Suffolk County, the more attention you're going to get. So I'm going to spend a lot of time here trying to demonstrate to you that I'm going to listen to your issues, and that I'm concerned about what you're concerned about, and hopefully, having been a mayor, as a matter of fact, Mayor Dahl said I was the second best mayor he ever met. So, I know how important, when you run for Congress, you become a congressperson, you have to worry about the big national issues and all the heady stuff that goes on. I'm actually excited to get involved in all that, and the foreign policy questions and all the big things we see on TV all the time. But it's also about the local stuff as well. That you have to take care of the local issues that people are concerned about. So as a mayor, I understand that and how important that is. So listen, things are very screwed up, obviously, in the country, okay? I mean, it's a very bad time. Everybody's sick of politicians. They're sick of government. They don't think anything's getting done. That's why some very unusual things that we see on TV are resonating with people, which is very disconcerting, but it's understandable. I've been talking about how broken the system is for a long time, in that it's not responsive to people. I mean,
what part of the system have you been speaking about that you think is broken?
Well, okay, thank you very much for bringing that up.
Absolutely.
Does anybody else want to ask any other questions before I finish myself? So when I was the county executive in Nassau County, I started a thing called FixAlbany.com. And when I did FixAlbany.com, I said that, because I was the county executive at the time, and I was trying to get laws passed to stop the growth of Medicaid. I won't go into the whole policy issue. And I was trying to get some laws passed in Albany, and they weren't paying attention to anything we had to say. And I made the point at that time that more people had been indicted in the state legislature that had lost their jobs in the past 5 years. And that was back in 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005. Now we see it's all come to a head with Shelley Silver and Dean Skelos getting indicted and convicted recently. And we've got a similar type of problem in the Congress right now. The Congress has an 11% approval rating. 11% approval rating. But in the last set of elections, in 2014, there was a 95% re-election rate. 95% reelection rate. And the problem is that we talk about the same issues. This guy's throwing me off of my speech a little bit, but I'm going to answer your question. We've been talking about the same stuff for 30 years. I mean, we saw the gun violence down in Orlando, okay? Everybody in this room, I would bet, thinks that there's, you've said, why don't they just? Why don't they just? For 30 years we've been fighting about this stuff. But it hasn't changed. And people are still fighting about it after 30 years. People have been fighting about immigration reform for 30 years, but nothing has happened. Nobody can, you don't even get a vote on it. People have been fighting about health care reform, and we finally got some health care reform, but everybody says there's a lot of broken parts to the system that needs to be fixed, but nobody's actually fixing it. It's either they want to get rid of the whole thing or do nothing, but nobody's actually working to fix it. So whatever, climate change. I was the Environmentalist of the Year back in 2008, when I was even younger, when I was the mayor, when I first met your mother, I was given an award from Al Gore for being a model for cleaning up polluted sites in Glen Cove back in 1996 or 8 or something like that. One of 16 communities in the country that was a model for cleaning up brownfield sites, and it was Superfund sites as well. But he was talking about climate change back then. Even before that he was talking about climate change. But nothing's happened on this issue. So whatever the issue, jobs in the economy, everybody knows about the globalization and what's happening with wages and the income disparity that exists in America right now. So why isn't anything getting done? Well, it's because the system is broken. The system is broken because there's so much influence from money, and because of the fact that it's so hard to defeat incumbents because of both the money and because of the gerrymandering of districts and of some bunch of other stuff. So why can't you change the status quo? If we all think, boy, they really should be able to do something about guns. They really should be able to do something to fix this immigration. After all this time, they're going to do something. Even if you disagree as to what your actual position is, they're going to do something. Something about climate change. I mean, the weather stuff that we've been seeing has been crazy. Can't they do something about it? The status quo does not change because somebody's benefiting from the status quo. There are people that want to keep things exactly the way things are now.
I watched 60 Minutes the other day, one of those TV shows, and somebody made the recommendation that said gun issues out west are so different than gun issues in the East Coast, right? Why can't the individual states make up their own?
Well, they do that.
chain?
Individual states do that now.
Because in
New
the
York
East,
State
everybody's going to,
New York
say
State
no
has
guns.
very strict gun laws right now compared to other places in the country. But because of these, you've heard about these gun shows, and
Yeah,
there's a lot
in
of
Florida.
things where people get guns and they import them into the states where the problems exist.
But you still need 3 days to get that gun, though.
So let me just to change the status quo, you need 3 things. First, you need to answer what you want to change it to, okay? That's the first thing. What do you want to change it to? And this, unlike being mayor or county executive, you've got think tanks all over America with all these smart people working to figure out solutions to the different problems. Some things which you would totally disagree with, some things you would agree with, but very smart, sophisticated ideas how to fix the problems. The second thing you need, though, is the guts. You have to be willing to stand up to fight to change it, because if you do stand up to fight it, they're going to try and squash you like a bug. They're going to try and crush you because they want to keep it the way it is now, and they're going to spend a lot of money trying to portray you as a caricature of what you really are and try and destroy you in the process. And the third thing you need in order to actually change things is you need to actually have the ability to win the fight. You have to know how the politics works. You have to know how the government works. You have to know how the press works. You have to know how all the different levers that have to be pulled to actually get something done. And if there's one reason that I'm really running for office, and it's in addition to the fact that I really enjoy doing this, and I feel this is what I'm meant to do with my life, is that I've learned this stuff from doing it, from being mayor for 8 years and being county executive for 8 years. I ran for governor of New York State. I was just saying a few minutes ago, I ran for governor of New York State against Elliot Spitzer. Did not turn out very well for me. The woman just pointed out, didn't turn out very well for him either. I'm still trying to get a refund from my investigators. This is the way I said that. So, during the course of my career, I have stood up and fought fights that were very politically risky in order to get something done to try and benefit the people that I serve. So I talked about, for this gentleman before, my Fix Albany campaign. I said I'm going to defeat a Democrat in the Assembly, and I'm going to defeat a Republican in the state Senate. I would only support Democrats, so it had to be a Democratic primary for the Assembly race. It was a Democrat against a Republican in the state Senate race. I'm going to defeat a Democrat in the Assembly and a Republican in the state Senate until they start paying attention to this issue. It was a Medicaid cap at the time. And I ended up beating a Democratic Assembly person with another Democratic candidate, and I helped to defeat a Republican state senator upstate New York with a Democratic candidate. And you know what happened? I was made president of the New York State County Executives Association, and I traveled throughout the state with Democrat and Republican county executives, and we went upstate and we went downstate, we did press conferences, and you know what? We got a cap on the growth of Medicaid. Now, everybody's bored by that issue, but I want you to know it saved Suffolk County since that time hundreds of millions of dollars, probably about $500 million by now, and it saved Nassau about $500 million. It saved New York City $2 billion a year, and it saved New York State billions of dollars. So now what was the cost to me? Well, I got a lot of Democrats very mad at me. I got disinvited to the Democratic National Convention by Shelley Silver back in 2004. He said, you can't come to the convention. I ended up going anyway because I helped John Kerry and raise money for John Kerry's campaign. I got better seats than Shelley Silver. I couldn't sit as a delegate.
Didn't I see you there about 4 or 5 days ago?
Yes, it was just with my daughter. Yes, we were there. Caroline was there for history making, so it was very exciting. So, yes.
Speaking to your point about getting money out of politics,
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the group coming out of New Hampshire, Democracy Spring?
No.
That's been campaigning all across, and they did a walk from Washington, from Philadelphia to Washington. And it's a great new movement. It's all over.
How many of you have heard of the case called Citizens United?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, listen, that's very rare because I've been involved in politics for a long time. My senior year of law school, I was on the New York State Commission for Government Integrity as an intern, and I got the New York State Bar Association Award for Ethics for the work that I did as a volunteer on that commission. And you know what the topic was? Campaign finance reform. But nobody's ever cared about campaign finance reform. This campaign this year is the first time that people are actually paying attention to the issue of money in politics. So you know, Citizens United was a lawsuit back in 2010 that was decided by the Supreme Court that permits corporations to give unlimited amounts of money, which is called dark money, where you don't know where it's coming or going to, that is really designed to protect the status quo. And there's going to be over $1 billion spent this year on getting you to hate politics and hate politicians and keep things the way it is right now. And so overturning Citizens United or getting a constitutional amendment to undo Citizens United is a major thing. It's not a sexy issue, it's not going to be a big campaign issue, but more people know about it now than any time I've ever been involved in government or politics, and that's a good sign. So I just want to tell you a second story. So when I was the county executive in Nassau County, the Nassau County Police were paid an average of $125,000 a year. They're paid probably more than that now. Suffolk County, the same thing. And we love the cops. The cops do a fantastic job. We praise the cops. You know, Blue Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. You know, we praise the cops, okay? But we couldn't afford to keep on giving 6% raises every single year in the midst of they're making $125,000 a year. When they retire, they got a lump sum payment of $225,000 a year for unused sick and vacation time. They work less hours than other jobs that we're familiar with. And I said, we can't continue to pay 6% a year increases in salaries. We love you. You're doing a great job. We have the lowest crime rate in America for any community over 500,000. But we can't keep doing it. They ran a $3 million ad campaign against me because I dared to say that we can't do this anymore. They flew a plane over Jones Beach with a big banner on the back of the plane. Said, Tom Suozzi, good for the bad guys, bad for the good guys. They had TV commercials. And they showed a lady in her bed, she's shaking in her bed, and the window breaks, and a guy comes through with a mask on, says, Tom Suozzi doesn't care about your safety. Tom Suozzi, good for the bad guys, bad for the good guys. So my daughter was a little girl at the time, she's watching TV, and she sees a commercial, she says, Daddy, she says, why are you good for the bad guys? So we had just seen Spider-Man. I said, you know how Spider-Man is always trying to do the right thing, and he's trying to help the people, and they write bad things about him in the newspaper? She said, yes. I said, Daddy's just like Spider-Man. So I'm only bringing up these different stories, only because in order to change things.
I want to tell a story.
Yeah, go ahead.
A real story.
Go ahead.
So in 2001, I decided to open up a supermarket in Glen Cove, I go to Tom, says, Tom, this is the plans. Tom says, okay, you know, great, it's gotta work for everybody, the residents, blah, blah, blah. Here's the building department. Anyway, we go through a whole big thing. Finally, after lawsuits and hearings and whatever, we get approved, it's all done. We open up the store. Tom's wife's come to the supermarket. I baked this pie. I heard he liked some pie. I go, give this to Tom. Oh, I can't give this to Tom. I am not taking this pie. I mean, honey, why would you take this pie? It's Sunday. It's for Tom will not take anything. It's a pie. It's $3. Absolutely not. I gotta pay for it. I said, pay for it. That's Tom Suozzi for me.
So if you want to change, you have to, who's benefiting from the way it is now, okay? Think about it, okay? Gun violence. Who could possibly be benefited? When they had those shootings in Orlando, the sale of assault weapons went through the roof. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, but they want to keep it the way it is now. The climate change. Oil and gas industry doesn't want things to change. Immigration reform, the agricultural industry. We don't even think about it here, but the agricultural industry in California and in different places throughout the country has huge amounts of people working off the books in the fields. They don't want to change immigration law.
I'm sorry.
We don't have to talk
I'm
about
sorry.
And
I'm sorry.
healthcare, you know, it's the prescription drug companies. It's the health insurance company. Now, it's not that everybody's evil and they're rotten. It's just that they're benefiting from it the way it is now, and they want to keep it the way it is now. They don't want it to change. So I believe that there are people of goodwill that want to do the right thing in the United States Congress, Democrats and Republicans. The challenge is to be able to work the system, to understand how it works, and to find people that actually want to do the right thing. And I think that I saw it on television the other night by somebody very smart. I can't remember who it was, but I mean, I'm stealing their thought, which is that we're at a tipping point in the nation's history because everybody's so frustrated with everything that everybody's realizing that we're going to have to get something done. And if not, we're going to have to do something similar to the Fix Albany campaign, which is to try and work to defeat incumbents. If you're not going to listen to the people, you know, right now, so few people, I just had this primary for Congress, 5 people were running for Congress, okay? There's 750,000 people who live in the district. 486,000 people are registered to vote. Of those people, 186,000 are registered as Democrats. Do you know how many people voted in the primary?
Thousands.
About 18,000 people. Okay? What happens, unfortunately, in America, not just here locally, in America, is that to win a primary, you often have to go way to the left. And to win a Republican primary, you have to go way to the right. So you end up with people on these extremes that can't do anything in the middle to actually get something done. That's a very broken part of our system because most of the answers to what need to be done take a little bit of these ideas and a little bit of those ideas and find somewhere in the middle to make a deal to actually get it done. That's what has to happen. But if nobody's participating, and if somebody says, you know what, I'm going to get reelected anyway, 95% reelected rate, and I don't want to do something too dramatic because then I'll have to run a primary and I'll lose a primary and the radicals will vote against me in the primary, I can't take it. So listen, I can do good work in my office. I've got my nice office. I can do
term limitations would help then?
Well, term limitations, listen, philosophically, academically, I'm against term limits, academically. But as a practical experience, we're finding that we can't get people out of office. Now, I think you can, and it's what's necessary is to build that type of movement. If you're not going to respond to the people's needs, then you have to take the political guts. Like when I did the Fix Albany campaign, I told my other county executives that I said, listen, let's all defeat one Democrat and one Republican in each of our counties throughout the state, and they'll have to listen to us. We're more powerful than they are. We're in every part of the state, county executives. We could get them to listen to us. They said, that's a great idea, Tom. I said, will you do it? No. Because they wouldn't go against the people in their own party as part of the process.
Why does it become so personal?
Because
they work for the people, not
that's right.
for...
That's the way it's supposed to be.
They forget.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
And I think there should be a limit. I think that everybody who wants to be in the government should have an opportunity. And I think if they don't do it in the 6 years, they gotta go.
Well, the idea is so the argument against that. And I'm not going to debate you about term limits right now. That's not the issue that I'm working on right this minute. But let me just give you the other side of the argument, just so you know. Okay, is that there are some good people in government that learn a lot of stuff by being in government. They get better and better at it as time goes on. And you don't want to lose those people. And the democratic system is supposed to be, that the people decide, this one's doing a good job, let's keep him. This one's doing a bad job, let's get rid of him. The problem is the system has become so screwed up that nobody's participating. So few people are participating in electoral politics.
Isn't it the fundamental issue that the dysfunction in Washington is really due to the campaign finance rules?
It's a very big part of it.
And then all the NRA and all the big corporations can manipulate the politicians like little puppets. That's what the
They're not just manipulating the politicians, they're manipulating the public. What they're doing is spending millions of dollars to get you to hate the politicians. And some of them should be hated, obviously. But no, they should be. I mean, why do you think it is that these guys, how could Shelley Silver and Dean Skelos and all of their predecessors have been indicted? How could they be so stupid that they would do that? Because when you're so safe in your seat that there's no way I'm going to lose. You know, when you're worried you're going to lose your race, you got to pay attention not just to the rules, you got to pay attention to the people. Like this race, you're very lucky. You're very lucky who live in the 3rd Congressional District. You know why? It's a 50-50 district. It could go either way. You got to work really hard to satisfy the people. You got to work harder to pay attention to their needs. When you're safe and secure in your seat and you got nothing to worry about, you're not as responsive. You're not as so what happens? You've heard the expression gerrymandering? Every 10 years after the census, they redesign the way the districts look, okay? And the people that are in the state Senate and the state assembly in the state actually pick the congressional lines as well as the state lines, and they do an incumbent protection society. Okay, we'll help you Republicans, we'll help you Democrats, you protect us, we'll protect you. That's where, so it's not just the money, it's the gerrymandering of the districts. It's the public not being involved. We're all so titillated by all the stuff in the media these days and on the internet and on Facebook and social. We've got so many things pulling us in so many directions. Who's paying attention to the need to save Social Security? Who's paying attention to the details of what we need to do to address all these climate problems?
Well, when you have 2 people in the family working, okay, you're on a merry-go, you're on a treadmill, okay, nobody's paying attention and they're taking advantage of that. You don't come home at 5 o'clock and sit around reading the paper and go to your local school district meetings or anything.
Right.
You're busy working till
Right.
7, 8 o'clock.
Right.
Getting your kids ready. Nobody's paying attention.
Which is why it's so great that so many people came out here like this tonight, okay? Because this is not normal. You're not normal people. The fact that you came out to a thing like this tonight for a political thing on a nice summer night in the middle of August or the beginning of August on a, what is it, Wednesday?
Wednesday.
So I don't want to keep on talking, so I don't want to get anybody. I'll stick around here. I'll answer any questions anybody wants. The bottom line is, if you hear me today, okay, and you say, you know what, I like this guy, Tom Suozzi. He's a good guy. I want to elect him. He would be a very good representative for us. He would make things better. Then I need you to tell your friends. I need you to tell your neighbors. I need you to tell your coworkers. I need you to spread the word and get it out there. If you hear me tonight, you say, I don't like this guy, Tom Suozzi. I only came because Barry invited me. I heard it was because of good food from Jay Adani. I only came as a favor to so-and-so, and you really don't like Tom Suozzi, I ask you, please just keep it to yourself.
Tom, before you go,
He wants to ask a question, he wants to ask a question.
Okay.
Just for those of us who live in Huntington, your predecessor, Steve Israel, was, if you paid attention to local politics, probably one of the best representatives I've ever encountered for crossing over party lines to get something done. When he hit Washington, that died. When he came home, he did what he felt was right, and I'm sure was personal to him. But quite frankly, the Steve Israel we knew in Huntington and the Steve Israel that was a congressman for so many years were 2 different people. It was always nice to see him sitting in front of the State of the Union, but I understand now why that happened. And kudos to him. It's sitting that long for that day. I'm sure there's plenty you can read and work you can do. But the bottom, and I'm familiar with you. I was impressed with you as mayor. I don't know what went wrong with the gubernatorial race. I know there was some.
I was stupid. That's
I know there was some nonsense, but we'll put that aside for now. Do you think that just your family history and the fact that you've been in politics probably more than Steve can make you that strong? Because I know I agree with him. You're fighting against the Supreme Court basically, which
All the money.
When I heard that decision, I quite frankly couldn't believe it. So it's going to have to be an amendment, to reverse what the Supreme Court did. Do you really think you have the kahunas, forgive the vulgarity, to be your own man in Congress? Because I know you've been a Democrat your whole life. Not necessarily that's a bad thing, so long as you're willing to cross the aisle.
I've thought about this an awful lot, okay? I don't know if you were here earlier, but when I talked about how I fought the Democrats in the state assembly as well as the Republicans in the state senate. When I ran for county executive, I went against the whole party apparatus. When I ran against Spitzer, I went against the whole party apparatus. I feel very comfortable fighting my own party as well as the Republican Party if I feel it's the right thing to do. And I'll work with anybody if they want to do the right thing. But I thought about what you said about Steve Israel, okay? Did you remember Steve was in Congress for quite some time, and he became a part of the leadership.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be, as a member of the leadership, to go out and do your own thing. And I thought about it. I've been thinking about it. I'm still thinking about it. But I really don't see myself going on the leadership track for Congress. I don't see that as being something I want to do. And I think that it will let me preserve some of my independence. I've always been able to, I think because of, I always had a private sector background. I'm a CPA, I'm an attorney. When I left county executive, I went to work for Lazard Frere. I worked for a big law firm. So I've always been kind of independent as far as I don't have to do this. And so I've been thinking about, would I ever want to try and, if I won, go for the leadership track, or would I want to stay? And I'm trying not to think about it, I don't want to jinx myself either. I got to win first. But I think to preserve my independence, I would not go that leadership track. I would try and stay, just the congressman who represents the area. And I think it makes a big difference in giving you the freedom. But listen, I admire Steve Israel. He did a fantastic job. He was big on the national issues, and he was big on the local stuff. And that's a real model to follow, and I will try and emulate that model.
But he really, when he went to Washington, he really.
Well, that's really my big thing. I mean, it's hard to campaign on that, but I really want to find people of goodwill that are Democrats and Republicans, and try and build a coalition of people and use the New York media as a vehicle to try and promote some successes with Democrats and Republicans working together.
I lived on Long Island for quite a long time, and living on Long Island, I've seen the exodus of jobs just leave, good jobs, good paying jobs, leave Long Island. How do you stand on TPA and TPP?
So I've said I won't support TPP the way it is right now, and so everybody understands there's a trade deal out there, Trans-Pacific Partnership, and a lot of people are unhappy with it. Some people are very happy with it. The bottom line is that in America we want higher wages, and we want good environmental controls, and we want worker safety, and we want no child labor, and we want pensions, and we want health insurance, and we want all the stuff that makes the quality of life good here. But we're competing against the whole world. Globalization is more real now than ever before, that don't have the same rules. Their wages are cheaper, they don't have child safety protection, they don't have worker safety, they don't have environmental, they don't have filters on their smokestack, they don't protect the waterways, they don't have all the different things that we have that we think make our country great. And the big fight is in order to compete in the global economy, we don't want to have a race to the bottom. We don't want to become more like them in order to compete economically. We don't want to say, in order to make money, we got to get rid of our quality of life and we have to become more like them. So the challenge with trade deals is to figure out, okay, we'll do business with you, but we need you to be more like us instead of us being more like you. And how do we get these other guys to raise their standards and in doing so make the world a better place to live in instead of us trying to race down to their level? So in order to compete in the global economy, we need to have a comparative advantage by having a more educated workforce than other places do, which we're not doing as well as the rest of the world is doing right now. We're like number 30. Okay, a lot of industrialized, mature industrial countries have better academic institutions, not institutions, a better job of math and science in the STEM area. And we have to look very seriously, and this is going to sound heretical coming from a Democrat, we have to look at the corporate tax rate. because we had to figure out how can we get companies to locate here in America, but keep the things that we like. Good paying wages, worker safety, environmental protection, health insurance, pensions, things like that. So I don't have an answer on that yet, but I'm looking at that. But we have to figure out how can we bring the jobs. Donald Trump's idea, or other people were saying, let's not do any trade deals at all, and let's just put a bunch of tariffs in place, is a bad idea, because when you, even if, say we brought a bunch of jobs back to America, we brought tons of jobs back to America, we're doing more jobs in America, but if you can't sell your products to the rest of the world because you don't have a trade deal with them, then you can't keep the jobs because there's no place to sell your goods. You have to be able to sell it in the rest of the world. So it's a very tough balance to figure out how to get the deal that makes sense, that we get the jobs, but we still have the open markets that we can do in the rest of the world. So it's not easy. If it was easy, somebody would have done it already. So, okay.
Good job.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Barry. I want to thank Jake. I want to thank Jake on our staff because Jake did a good job in making this happen. And we said, Jake, this is not going to work. It's not going to be any good. What are you doing, Jake? He said, it's going to go. It's going to be good. So let's give Jake a big thank you for doing a good job.
2001?
Great job.